Okay, we're set up with our punch. This is all about getting the small areas to put the punch in the right position along areas of mass, obviously to remove flakes. We've got heavy hammerstone edges, so we're going to have to take some of those down with some shorter flakes. When the edges are thick, see that angle? I can bring it up. Just take a little flake because we were so thick on the tip. Now, something that you can do is, instead of trying to thin down when you're first learning the punch, one, keep in mind that like with the hammerstone, I'm doing a lot of finger support right underneath the edge. And I've got my hand anviled on this leather pad so that I'm not floating. Things are locked in, the punch is not moving, the punch can direct inward, the hand is anchored so I can adjust my angle, but it's still pretty good support. That way I can get over the fact that antler is harder to remove flakes off of a rock than steel or copper or aluminum, because my support is right, and I just have to be careful about where I put the antler on the edge. The reason why people have sometimes a difficult time learning the punch is because their predominant knapping is very ground using metal tools, and it's not the tool's fault, it's the edge's fault. And the edges are everything. So think about maybe just making, instead of thinning, because that's going to be hard to do at first, I just think about making a nice edge. Let's take that little flake. Maybe now we can get just a tiny other one right there. See that little flake? And then you can do a little trim. Move over, because I'm going to get a flake here. So I made a little isolation. See what I did? And now look, see you have a tiny subtle ridge. So then you just can look at it and position it. Set the punch on there. See? So I'm pretending right now I'm not even making an arrowhead. I'm just trying to make this edge straight and even and nice. Same thing, moved over. Little teeny isolation. See that little teeny ridge right there? Let's just get that positioned right. Look at that little teeny platform right here. See? And that's just a subtle ridge. This is flat. I don't want to trap this because that flake is going to be a little bit wider and thin. So I bridge my fingers apart, and then that little flake comes off clean because it didn't touch anything. See that? Now the next flake right here, there's a bump. There's a high area right there. Let's move that out of the way. Grind down. It's helpful to have an abrader where there's a sharp area. So I'm going to use this little sharp area down. There. See how I ground that bump out of the way? Now, because I was working on making a really nice edge where the flake came off here, I've got a little spot. So let's go ahead and just pump that out. I don't know why I said that. I said pump instead of punch. Trim. See our edge is getting straighter? Now there's a thick area on our tip. See? See how smooth and nice that is? All right, let's do, well, I can't, this is too steep right here to put the punch up there. So I'm gonna need a teeny little one coming back the other way. And back off on the angle. See what that did? That lowered that down. And then we can just take care of this little heavy area on the tip, a couple short flakes. Okay, this edge is really nice. Now we can continue working on this edge, or we can just turn over and follow suit. Since this face is so flat, I'm gonna have to do more work on this face. So, and get oriented to do that. Okay, we'll start down here. A little bit of cortex still. See how I can adjust my angle? It's heavy right here, and I just want to get a little cleaner through there. So I'm going to really back down on my angle, with the punch in an area where it'll kind of carry through. And remove this. And I've got a ridge to come here. The more you're random early, and then when everything is nice, then you get more and more ordered, if you want to be ordered. Take that little flake there. Little bump. Sometimes you use the hammerstone just to scrunch an area or nip an area down. So I have this hammerstone flake that stepped there, which can be easily cleaned from the other side. So we just need to just trim this down, keep contours going. Same thing here. This flake is gonna have to go this way. The energy transfer is effective, and on a good material like this, it's probably good practice material. It's not terribly difficult to get good quality raw chert like this Indiana hornstone. But the smaller pieces anyway. See this nice ridge here? We're gonna have to grind this little delta, this little ridge right there down to make a platform. Those little details are what makes it more difficult for people than is knowing just the right edge to put the punch on. Like this area is almost too heavy. I could power through, but there's a tiny bit of cortex. There's a tiny little bump right there, so I'm gonna move right here. And bridge. See? a lot of tools were used and had nice edges on them. You know, you don't have to make a formal point from start to finish. So now this side is nice. Just a little spot in the corner to get a small one. Another one here. And one here. Sometimes you don't have to braid, you can just pinch and grab. Tiny little one here. Let's clean up that small step right there. This little platform here. Didn't quite get to it, but it doesn't matter. Now our edges are so straight, we can obviously just work back and forth. If there's a ridge that we need to go this way, there's a little bit more mass on the tip, so we'll get one there. Maybe we'll sort of do some back and forth. Now, because our edges are lean and set up for the punch, you can do some pretty quick, hasty work with just some back and forth flaking, and then hitting it harder when you need to. There's a little one there. Go down. Ready to come back in here. Okay. And here. I'll have to get a double this way. Do two more here and then maybe one back there. This is a heavy area, but I can get in there and get it. There. Find a little corner of my punch to get in there. Now we can split the difference as we clean this up with a smaller punch later. My edge is still, need to move a little bit more mass here. Let's switch to the smaller punch. 13 minutes.